Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post Conference Presser for Anfield Index. It's the Carabao Cup semi-final, isn't it? Liverpool tomorrow night, and Arne Slot was up early, as he always tends to be, in all honesty, at the AXA, taking questions from journalists and talking about everything from players to injuries, and we got some good news on that front. We even got asked about the perfect striker that Arne Slot would like, so we'll even give you a little bit on that. I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a pretty warm Edinburgh, but the wind is absolutely howling, so fingers crossed the windows don't come in. But let's get into it. We'll do the normal format. The questions Arne Slot was asked, the answers that he gave, the players that he talked about, and the insights at the same time. And there really is, as much as we're talking about Arne Slot's Q&A, only one place to start, ladies and gents, and that's the news that we got around Trent Alexander-Arnold. And he gave us quite a bit. So he was asked naturally about his injury. Liverpool put the statement out, as you can see, that he will miss the second leg, just pretty much as the conference went live. But what did Arne Slot say? He said, yeah, he is going to miss this game. For Sunday, we'll have to see if he can play. But what we do know is he isn't available for tomorrow. He left the pitch with a bit of pain in his leg, but he's already running on the pitch with the rehab coach. So that is a massive boost, isn't it? It pretty much looks like we know he's missing tomorrow night. It's touch and go if he could make Sunday, but let's be honest, Sunday is a game against Plymouth in the FA Cup away. He was never going to play anyway, was he? You're fully expecting to be rested. And the big fill-up for this is it looks like he may, just may, be there for the derby. We will have to see what happens on this one. But yeah, so much to like about that answer. The only other thing to say as well, Arne Slot did mention about, or he was asked, about the keeper situation. So it's worth bringing that one in. He said, I haven't spoken to them yet. I will do after I've done the breakout rooms and the press conferences. So I'm not going to tell you in this one until I've informed the goalkeepers. Football, elite level football especially, is absolutely brutal. It's just the nature it is. But you saw on Saturday the difference between Kelleher and Alisson. Queeve is a brilliant keeper. There's no two ways about it. He would be number one in, for most of the clubs in the Premier League, probably even Chelsea. Sanchez is horrendous, isn't he? Let's be honest. But Alisson is elite, and he made a couple of elite saves. Now, this is the final second leg for a chance to go to Wembley and put another trophy on that wall. I don't see it. It wouldn't surprise me, please, I'm saying this, but I'm fully expecting Arne Slot to decide to have Alisson between the sticks. I know that's going early on some of the team news, but I'd guess, unless you want to comment definitely in the chat panel, many of you would be the absolute same. And VCV says there, a fully rested Trent for the derby be a big boost. Yeah, too right on that. Naturally, the focus is on this game, but it is massive if we can get Trent fit for the derby. So that would be positive in this press conference. The next bit he was asked was about the quiet window. And before everyone starts jumping or people start putting FSG out and et cetera, in the chat panel, let's have a look at this and what he said. He said, I don't know, but maybe there's not as many managers have a good a squad as I have. I've said it many times, we have a great squad. And if you look at the league table, the players have shown the trust we have in them and so react in the right way. And we do any injuries, not long-term injuries in these moments. So there's not a reason to add something to the team unless you have a chance in the market like we had with the goalkeeper last summer. For us, and for now, we're happy with the team. There's an element of people won't want to hear this, but he's got an argument, hasn't he? He's 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League. He is top, or was top, if you want to call it that, the Champions League group stages. the availability, and maybe this is a big shout out to Ruben Peters and all those their team, the S&C teams you mentioned, has been sensational, hasn't it, this season? It is night and day from last campaign. I know people will jump on this and say, oh, it's not a case of being an FSG apologist. We've done loads of pods. I've been quite clear. I would have loved a left back to come in. Another midfielder, I think, could have been helpful as well. There's a few, I think, more said this many a times, but I've seen a few comments on social media today about Slot now defending the owners. I actually believe Arne Slot is as dead eye straight as they come. He's honestly wanting to keep this squad as it is. He's happy to ride it till the end of the season and see what it brings. I honestly believe that. I don't think he's kind of banging on the door for, I need this to, if we're going to progress to the next level, etc. I mean, he's been clear. He won't mind those contracts signed, but that goes for all of us, doesn't it, at the same time? Yeah, you'll take what you want from that. But at the end of the day, the window is closed. We have to move on. And VCV are asking their question is, will Chiesa start tomorrow? At the end, as ever, I will give what I think will be the lineup. There's still a few I'm strewing on, but not too many, truth be told. The other one he was asked about was the semi-automated offside and VAR calls. Now, I'd forgotten this. I don't know if anyone remembers. When Tottenham had that goal disallowed in the first, just a lanky one for offside, Stuart Atwell did the whole, he spoke to the stadium, didn't he, like NFL style, and that was a new thing. And that was part of the question he was asked. I'd forgotten about it completely. He said, and Arne Slot's response, he said, for me, it's not necessary. As I see why, then the referee makes a good decision. You could go 2 steps back and see the live coverage, but that's not available for every fan in the stadium. I appreciate that. I wonder if you're all going to like it, but for me, it's not necessary. But if the fans like it, then yeah, I can. The last time it happened in the Spurs stadium, I was there, and he laughed specifically when he started discussing this bit. That was so obvious that it wasn't really necessary to announce it as an offside at all. The more interesting thing was why he didn't give the second yellow card and explain. I think if he would have explained it, it could have become even more pressure in the stadium, and then he's already under a lot of pressure and he's explaining it to the home team and the home fans. That could add more pressure to the next and the next decisions. I think he had a fair point. I had completely forgotten about this, and some of you may not have done, but if you think back to that first leg, the 1-0, there's been a million games since then, hasn't there? But the disallowed goal, which was obvious, correct. And Bergvall, do you remember when everyone was just expecting him to get a second yellow? And then that was punctuated, wasn't it, by him going on to score the goal in their 1-0 win, having should have literally been off the pitch minute. I'd completely forgotten about that from my memory, but I get what Slot is saying here. I am not for one moment bothered about a referee coming onto the mic and giving their decisions. I know they make ridiculous decisions. I don't really want to hear what's behind it. Does it change it? Does it either way? I think the big thing, and it's a shame he didn't deal with this actually of all the parts of the question that he got stuck into, we'd all love semi-automated offsides, wouldn't we? Let's be completely honest, that sonar style one that you get in the UEFA Champions League, but the Premier League haven't adopted it for some crazy reason. That would have been the better thing to have, just for the lines and all this stuff to get away from. But that is what it is. The next bit he was asked was about the Bournemouth game, which I thought was absolutely brilliant there. I mean, 2-0 away from home, a brilliant performance. He was asked, was it good preparation? He said, every game, every training session, we're always trying to work on our habits. And every time we have a post-match meeting, and we tell them what they did well and what they can improve. With that, we're then hoping they can constantly improve, and come the end of the season, they can almost have the perfect game. So a game like this definitely helped. We learn still from every single game, and the more games you play, the more challenges you come across, the more challenges you face, the more you're ready for the next one. I thought it was perfect preparation. because it was pretty much Arne Slot's strongest lineup, the strongest team I suspect he felt he could put out, and they did not half do a job. It almost felt like, for me, a real marker down. So you can see that whether it be the patterns of play, the sort of tweaks in the tactics they're starting to implement, it's getting better all the time. And we'll come on to a few other things from the Bournemouth game at the same time. I think it's worth talking about. He was then asked a really good question, a really good one about Conor Bradley and him coming in, how he'll do and get on. This is what he said. Every single game and every single session, someone has something to learn from it, or it isn't really a training session, is it? We played in Eindhoven quite a good game if you take into account the team we played. We conceded 3 goals, and if you take a look at those 3 goals, I don't think we did much wrong, but sometimes it's just small details. And something at this level is if you do small details wrong, this can happen. That's the feedback we gave Conor. And he wasn't involved in every goal, but he was in one, in my opinion, where he didn't follow the overlap aggressively enough. I think that was the 3rd goal that it led to. Honest, straight down the line. And it's not a case when I'm saying this that he's calling out Conor Bradley in this, but we've seen from day one, Arne Slot is never afraid to say, this is how I saw it. This is where my player can get better. Happy to be pretty vocal in these press conferences all round and talk about where he thinks they could improve. That's not to single out a player, so to speak. It just so happened the question was about Conor Bradley. So that's what he tackled. That's what he got into. So I thought a fair answer. And I did think in that game, Conor Bradley could have done a little bit better. On the flip side to that, I actually think when Conor Bradley came on against Bournemouth, he did very, very well. Alisson saved him from an own goal, didn't he? But a good performance. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on tomorrow night. Now, the next bit, for me, the best bit of the press conference, Mo Stewart, Mighty Mojo, I'm sure you know him, asked Arne Slot a question about strikers. I'm not actually going to say any more. I'm just going to play you this clip, this snippet from the press conference. I think it was absolutely brilliant.
You've spoken previously about your desire to get more goals and chances for your number 9s. In the last 6 games, the starting number 9s only had 4 shots on target from nearly 400 minutes. However, in those 6 games, we've also had a goal from Jota, 2 goals from Nunes of Brentford and 2 from Gakpo from that central position on the pitch. So are you happy for your central striker to be more of a facilitator, or are you still trying to get them more goals?
I will be happy if that player.
Oh, bad time to buffer, ladies and gents. Fingers crossed it does kick in for you. I'd love to do it.
Facilitator, nice word. I didn't know that one yet. And scoring goals himself.
It's a shame. Looks like it's buffering, ladies and gents. I'll be tech on my side. So what Mo asked a great question, my apologies, and it was a brilliant answer. We kind of got a bit of an insight into what Slot like, and you can see he was smiling as Mo was asking the question and talking about the facilitator. And you can say he actually said, that's a nice word. You kind of got the feeling that Arne Slot might use it in his press conferences going forward. It will be interesting to see. But when he talked about the type of striker he's looking for, he actually said, but long story short, came to the end and said, both. I'm looking for someone who can be a facilitator, like a winger, someone who could play there, but also our wingers need to score goals. Now, I don't know about you, but someone who's a facilitator to make goals, someone who could score goals, can you imagine how in love Arne Slot would be with Bobby Firmino? No, we all were anyway, but you could just tell he would absolutely adore a player like Bobby Firmino. And you can almost read too much into a press conference, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see your thoughts. But I actually think possibly it could just change everything a little bit. And yeah, Jan Temple's put there, I think a 9 who can create their own chances, someone class would change the dynamic. I really do it as well, to be honest, Jan. And people we've been linked with different forwards, we can't pretend. I was trying to think of and this isn't being cruel to Bobby or the player. You have to be careful when you. I can't get out my head. I don't know if anyone's different. João Pedro. I'm looking at a forward in the modern world who's kind of can drop deep, create, score as well. And Bobby only had really 1 or 2 seasons, I think, when he, hit high numbers. He was always around that sort of 9 to 13 mark, wasn't he? But it wasn't about that. It was what he would offer dropping deep, linking the team and everything like that. And it is a big call. And it's not saying that it will be João Pedro, but it was just interesting from the answer that Arne Slot gave. I wonder. And being honest, from what we've seen so far, would we say Jota, Nunes are those types? I am struggling to see it that way.
That's, again, what we want to achieve in the end. But I also saw the penalty from Cody where Lucio, as a 9, played a part without even touching the ball. So he dragged the centre-back out, which led to the fact that Cody was in a 1v1. And he made a deep run and got tripped, which led to the penalty. So in the end, you want attackers, midfielders to score. We've spoken about our attacking midfielder as well. We need to get goals from many positions, including centre-backs that can score from set pieces also. So that's what I just said. We are trying to work on the training ground and with the feedback we give them after the game to make the team better and better and better. And in the end, the number 9 should be a facilitator like a winger, but a winger and a 9 should also score goals.
Brill. Happy with that. Mrs. Davis, I just told her to put 50p in the meter for the Wi-Fi. So we've got it for you there. So there you go. Seeing a few comments coming in. Mr. Moses saying they scout FM and scout. Yeah, be interesting, Mr. Moses. I can't help but get away from João Pedro. And that doesn't mean it'll definitely be that player. There's a long way to play out for the summer. And before all the FSG out people that sometimes pop up saying we're not signing anyone, etc., it was just a bit from the press conference. So yeah, the final bit as well, which is worth mentioning, that Arne Slot was asked about. A question of, you've left players out recently like Chiesa, Joe Gomez. Do you have the challenge to keep them upbeat? I have seen this one clipped up already, and I think people are being a bit silly with this, almost as though Arne Slot's ranting and saying we need to change it like Jurgen Klopp did. He was quite calm, considered and measured when he answered this. What did he say? I said, one of the things that I don't really understand here in England so far, everywhere around the world, we can take 23 players to the game, like the Champions League. And we're in a country where we play games. The likes of Arsenal, Villa, the other teams of us play in Europe. And then we have the FA Cup, the League Cup. We play so many games. So if you're able to play all these games, you need a big squad. I'm sure you'd agree. To pick 11 is difficult, but then to tell someone in the squad is even harder. I don't understand why we don't go to 23 in this country, as you play the most games and we only have 20 players we can take to the game. You need more than 20 players as you play so many games. It's not for this one game that we talked about, but since it is the rule over here, that it's probably going to be, or makes things, the most difficult decision I make, referring back to, the original question about keeping players upbeat when you leave them out. To leave someone out is the hardest decision for me to make. Be interested to get anyone's thoughts on this. Arne Slot saying that we should increase match day squads to 23. You will all have opinions on it like I do. I guarantee if this gets traction, if that's the right word in the media, this is how normal Sky Sports, Talk Sports, Gammon Brigade and everything like that. There will be an ex-pro from the 80s, 70s who was playing then will say, well, in my day, we had 13. Do you remember then they had 14? So I'll talk about that. We didn't really use subs unless there was a horrific injury we played on. So someone from the 80s that way will quote it. Then someone will say, well, we used to have only 3 subs that can come on, but now we've got 5 since Jurgen Klopp and others pushed it, etc. from there. And do you remember how Jurgen Klopp was the first to say that for player welfare? People mocked him. And then what happened? Everyone else got on that train. That's what happened. Now the matchday squads are bigger. Someone will say as well, just to finish that off, the third layer of critique of this will be, oh, he's coming into the game. He doesn't understand the Premier League. He doesn't understand how it works. This is our game. Well, the Premier League's changed many a times from 3 subs to 5 subs to size of squads. It could change again. What it should be doing is looking at player welfare and just the sheer amount of injuries that we have. Don't know if anyone saw that stat in world football. We're at a record high this month of cruciate injuries. It's like a brand new record high across the men's and female game at the same time. So there is an argument if you're doing it off pure welfare, maybe to consider. To be honest, though, for me, it's not, I wouldn't say a priority. It's not something like the 3 to 5 stubs that will make a huge difference. But I get what Arne Slot is saying. Jan there say, yeah, interested to hear other opinions. Someone might be thinking I'm talking nonsense. It's not a pressing thing for me. Slot made sense. The game is changing now due to more games than ever. The only difference is I always thought, because it's best to play devil's advocate on this, if you take more players, there's more players peed off when they don't get onto the pitch at the same time. So that is just a consideration. But Arne Slot, absolutely bang on form. And it was a bit of the Spurs game. And, you know, they always ask about the opposition and building up. But I just want to give you a little snippet that was my personal favourite. I thought the Mo bit was brilliant. So big shout out to Mighty Mojo again. But just listen to this line. Ask him whether you feel it's half time and, you know, do anything differently. He said, we don't have to prepare them differently like now or anyway until the end of the season. For as long as Liverpool exists, if we play in this shirt, we need to win the game. That's as long as I've been here and before as well. What a line that is, by the way. For as long as Liverpool exists, if you play in this shirt, you need to win the game. Just gets it, doesn't he? That is the expectation at this club. There's no two ways about it. And Mr. Moses there said, since Klopp's got to become a well-established club, we are expected to challenge on all 4 fronts. I think that's been the way at Liverpool for such a long time. You know, those are the standards. That's why there is a trophy wall. That's why there is a huge tour of the museum. If you go on match day, and it does take so long because of the nature of where we are. But just people saying, why would I fixate on that line? It just shows for me, Slot gets it. Brilliant press conference as ever. So we look back to this game, the Bournemouth one, don't we? 2-0. Mo Salah, what a game that was. And as we always do, we talk about any lessons that we get from that game. I mean, for me, the big thing about this game is elite is elite. In the high-pressure moments, in the high-pressure games, Mo Salah, Alisson, Van Dijk, different level. Alisson makes 2 absolutely unbelievable elite saves. Mo Salah, high-pressure penalty, and he's missed a few at Bournemouth before, so that could have easily played in his mind, but it didn't, did it? Buried in that bottom corner with absolute aplomb. Thank you and good night. And then, just in case you weren't sure, Bournemouth, he's going to get it in the area. Kirkus is going to dare him, and he's going to curl it in that top corner. Good night, Vienna. No encore. Everyone trot home to the coast type of job. Absolutely brilliant. That was my biggest thing from this game. Elite players doing elite things. We will win a lot of games. And also that when they talk about wins, I mean, the other team in the league who are challenging beat the team in 5th place in the league who aren't challenging, and everyone made a huge fuss about this game, didn't they? Manchester City are, I think that washed is the word I'm seeing that kids use nowadays. That there's just no legs in the midfield, is there? They're completely done. That was not a great win. And by the way, I think it was Ortega, the keeper, gave them 3 of the goals. This was the win of the weekend. Make no mistake about it. Bournemouth have been flying high. Kirkes, is getting a lot of praise. We're linked with him. Semenyo's having a great season. Justin Kluivert's been bagging in hat-tricks galore. No two ways about it. This was the win of the weekend. And the final clue I would say from this Bournemouth game as well, clean sheets are back. I know people are going to now say, well, hold on, Ipswich. Yeah, but if you're going to leave 5-foot Harvey Elliott marking that big 6'9" Jacob Greaves, that is going to happen. It's a last minute. But take that away. Brentford away. Should have been Ipswich. And it should have been 3 clean sheets in a row, but it's becoming habitual now. That was how we started the season. We've almost peaks and troughs a little bit. It wasn't a blip, but clean sheets are becoming part of what we do. So those are the 3 biggest clues, 3 biggest takeaways there. Jan saying, which players returning from injury do you think may feature against Spurs? I'll come to that, Jan, because I've actually I don't think you see many changes, especially against this Spurs side. But we talk, as we always do on this show, we should do about Spurs' threats. I mean, it's strange, isn't it? You have to go so far down this table. 14th place. Won their last game and a clean sheet, 2-0. So you think they could be in a little bit of form, and this is their Champions League, their real chance to win a trophy. Me and Bart's did Stat Me Up last night, so it's just worth a watch. The clip's actually on YouTube now. We've isolated it for Spurs specifically. In a clean sheet game, Spurs gave away 20 shots on goal. The fact is, Brentford just were a bit wild and weren't clinical, but Spurs gave away, even though they got a clean sheet, 20 shots on goal. If Liverpool get 20 shots on goal tomorrow, and you can give the receipt to whatever they say on this, I guarantee you we will score more than 1 goal. I guarantee if we get 20 shots or more on goal, it will be more than a 1-goal win. So there's a few things just to keep in mind there at the same time. And you look at Spurs, this squad. Now, I had a little look, and there's a bit of uncertainty. I've not seen Ange's press conference, not that I'd watch Spurs, but when we talk about the threats they bring, who's fit? There's a bit of uncertainty around Mickey van der Ven. A lot of suggestions from Spurs fans that he may have a new injury, which is kind of sad for the lad, but wouldn't be that surprising, would it, at the same time? So will Danzo play? That's a big risk to throw him into your first game away at Anfield under the light second leg. So Dragusin's also out for the season, I saw as well. It just had, call it horrendous luck, whatever it is, but they are injury riddled. You are fancying it's a makeshift back line. There is goals in this team, though. Kulusevski, goals and assists. Maddison is out. That is the latest news that we've got as well. Son, is it aging, but still a real threat. Renan Johnson has got pace. Wouldn't be surprised if Richarlison gets minutes and he will play the role of the pantomime villain, won't he, in this one? But Dominic Solanke also out as well. So there's still threats. It feels like we play Spurs quite a bit, but this is the first time at Anfield, isn't it? There was the 6-3 in the league. There was 1-0 defeat in the first leg, and now it's back to Anfield, where it's not a happy hunting ground for them at all. So this will not be an easy game, but I am fully confident. Which brings us then to the lineup. Jan's got an idea. People have been asking about Chiesa. Mr. Moses asked as well. How do I think this is going to line up? This is what I honestly think. As I said before, Alisson getting here. I think it's a big tournament. He's the best we've got. So he has to start. No two ways about it. It's pretty much quite easy to pick, I fancy. I could be wildly wrong, but VVD, Ibu will play at the back. I think Robbo will keep his place. It's been a difficult season for Robbo, but done a bit better. And Conor Bradley has to play because we know Trent's out. So that's your back line. Midfield, Curtis Jones does well when he comes on, but Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Ryan Gravenberch start. I think it's a first choice midfield that way. Up front, well, I mean, just look at those stats from Mo Salah. And just in the Premier League alone, 23 games, 21 goals, 13 assists. Just absolutely insane. 42 goal contributions so far this season. They're like Messi, Ronaldo numbers. They really are. Gakpo will be on the left. He's in form. I do think it will be Luis Diaz up top. I think it'll be pretty much the same lineup. I think you'll see Nunes on the bench. I'd like to see Chiesa on the bench because if they're going to start him against Plymouth, build into that a little bit. Jota, I think, would like to see get some minutes as well. There's quite a few coming back. But yeah, I think that's the strongest lineup we can go. Pretty much, if anyone noticed, the same lineup that we had against Bournemouth. Maybe a tweak. Wouldn't surprise you if Tsimikas is in. But that is what I'm going with. And the final thing will be prediction. I can't get this scoreline out my head at all. And I don't know why. 4-1. Quite bullish about tomorrow night, and it can always come back and bite you. Don't get me wrong at all. But a 4-1 Liverpool victory is what I'm expecting. And Mo Salah to be on the score sheet. And listen, it's not a clean sheet, but a 4-1 means you book your flights, your train tickets and everything to Wembley. You clear the weekend with whoever you need to, be it husbands, wives, etc. Anfield South could be beckoning. Thursday night, 8 p.m, under the lights, semi-final, second leg. Just a reminder for this one, it could go to extra time. That can happen. It's only the quarters where the Carabao doesn't have it. So this one could go to extra time if it's all square. There's no away goals. There will be penalties as well. Mr. Moses saying 4-2, which, to be honest, we'd take, wouldn't we? Because as long as you get to Wembley, that's all that matters at this stage. But there we go, ladies and gents. We will see what comes up this week. A brilliant press conference as ever from Arne Slot. Plenty to consider and plenty of clips and content of it will be out at Anfield Index very shortly. But on Wednesday, the 5th of February, way ahead of a Carabao Cup semi-final, that was another post-conference presser